A faction within the People's Democratic Party, the PDP Advocates for Peace and Justice, has called for the immediate and unconditional release of social media activist, Godzone Udoito. The demand was made in a statement signed by the group's chairman, Dr. Tom Fred Fish, and secretary, Mr. Saver Yuko, in Uyo on Sunday. Udoito, a female advocate for the rights of the Ikid people regarding ancestral lands in the Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve, was arrested and arraigned by the State Police Command over alleged criminal defamation, threats, publication of false information and conduct likely to cause a breach of public peace. The statement reads in part, "The PDP Advocates for Peace and Justice, Papa J, expresses grave concern over the continued harassment and restriction of liberty of Princess Godzone Udoito, an Ikid princess and civic voice who has been targeted simply for expressing her views on matters of public interest. Papa J hereby demands her immediate and unconditional release." In recent times, a dangerous narrative appears to be gaining ground where honest expression, community advocacy, and factual criticism of the government of Pastor Umo Ino are being treated as offenses. This development is alien to democratic practice and contradicts the spirit and letter of the Nigerian Constitution, which guarantees freedom of expression and the right of citizens to question governance in a peaceful and lawful manner. Highlighting the need for peace and inclusive governance, which Akwa Ibom State has been known for over the years, the group questioned why a citizen should be singled out for intimidation simply for speaking on issues concerning her ancestral roots. Princess Udoito's advocacy concerning the Ekoiek Stub Creek Forest, a historically protected Ikid ancestral land, falls within legitimate public discourse. Her position, which is also shared by many Iket people across the world, is rooted in documented historical and legal realities. At no point did her actions encourage violence, public disorder, or unlawful conduct. Rather, her engagement aimed to draw attention to alleged policies affecting ancestral land without adequate consultation or compensation of the rightful owners, the statement added. Papa J further expressed concern that individuals within government circles, who ought to serve as mediators, had allegedly chosen confrontation over consultation. Instead of promoting dialogue with the Ikid people, there appears to be an attempt to deploy state institutions and legal mechanisms to suppress dissenting voices. Such actions undermine trust, weaken democratic culture, and risk escalating avoidable tensions. This is totally unacceptable to Papa J, the statement said. The group emphasized that journalists, whistleblowers, social commentators, and community advocates must be protected when speaking responsibly on issues affecting the public. Peaceful advocacy and dissent, even when inconvenient to the APC administration, remain lawful and essential components of accountable governance, it added. Papa J called on the Akwa Ibom state government and relevant authorities to redirect the instruments of state power toward addressing pressing challenges such as unemployment, poverty, and political sycophancy, rather than harassing or victimizing citizens for expressing legitimate opinions. Meanwhile, stakeholders from the Ibeno local government area of the state have rejected the submissions made by the Ikid People's Union before the State Land Use Allocation Committee, describing them as distorted and misleading. The dispute over ownership of the oil-rich Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve has generated tension between the Iked and Ibeno communities, resulting in the loss of lives and property. Speaking on behalf of the Ibeno Council in Uyo on Sunday, Chief Udofia, the council's spokesman, endorsed the government's position, saying the Ikid presentation at the committee sitting in Uyo on January 16, 2025, was based on historical revisionism, misinterpretation of the law, and inflammatory threats against government and legitimate investors. According to him, Ikid People's Union lacks any constitutional or statutory authority to claim ownership, control, or veto powers over land administration in Akwa Ibom State. The powers of attorney allegedly issued by private individuals or traditional institutions cannot override the provisions of the 1999 Constitution, the Land Use Act, or the statutory powers of the governor, who holds land in trust for the people. The repeated references to a purported 1918 Privy Council judgment which the Ikid people claim confers perpetual ownership of the entire Stubbs Creek forest are misleading and historically dishonest. Udofia maintained that no colonial-era judgment granted perpetual proprietary rights over a forest reserve legally declared and managed by the government under valid statutes, adding that any such judgment would have been context-specific and cannot supersede post-independence constitutional frameworks, forest reservation laws, or subsequent statutory control by the government. Reiterating the provisions of the Land Use Act, Chief Udofia stated that all land was vested in the governor to be held in trust for the people, adding that industrial developments such as refineries, petrochemical plants, and mining projects clearly fell within overriding public interest.